Now, with Donald Trump's return to the White House, many are wondering how his policies will impact global markets and emerging technologies, including cryptocurrency as well as social media. Here to break it all down is none other than Kevin O'Leary, also known as Mr. Wonderful. Kevin, thanks for joining us this morning on the show.
Thank you.
Now, with Trump returning to the White House, how do you think his policies will impact the broader crypto market? And will we see a more regulation or a freer market for cryptocurrency?
Well, it's not only affecting domestic policy. We're starting to see other markets immediately, for lack of better words, snap to, because what's been holding back this market is a regulatory framework to integrate it in with existing financial institutions. And I'll give you an example. Now that we know Trump is going to focus on crypto, particularly in the areas of the rules on owning it, like let's take the big granddaddy, which is Bitcoin, but also digital currencies used for trading currency, and so digital payment systems. These are the two big areas of regulatory focus. So, you know, if you think about the G7 or the G20, the markets where most of the sovereign wealth is managed, on a normal basis, you would put anywhere from 1% to 3% into an alternative asset class like Bitcoin. Virtually none of that has been done yet because there's no way to market it into the existing infrastructure where you know you're compliant. In other words, if you have to issue to the SEC because you're managing funds in the US, and there's no policy on how you actually put Bitcoin into your portfolio, and your own software even goes down to that, there's no way on earth you're going to do it. So they haven't. But now they're looking forward to having this occur in countries like the UAE, Switzerland, Australia, and Canada, where there's an exchange called WonderFi. They're now talking to banks where a banking client can say, look, I want to put 5% into Bitcoin, but I have no way to do it. The bank doesn't provide it because it's not compliant. They'll allow them to do that at some point. That's the speculation. And so that's why you're seeing so much interest specifically in Bitcoin and digital currencies.
And you know, you brought up WonderFi. This is a company that you have been heavily involved in, a Canadian cryptocurrency company. What role do you see crypto playing in the broader global financial landscape, especially with this new administration?
Well, I took a position in that company under the premise that at some point, the banking system in Canada would have to go to the largest, most liquid exchange to provide services to their clients. It hasn't happened yet, but that's why I'm so optimistic, is that it's going to happen soon. I've been waiting years for this. It's an investment premise, not only here, but also in the UAE, where the M2 exchange exists. These are going to become part of financial infrastructure. So in a way, if the regulator is not litigating you anymore, as we had in the last regime, and they're now providing you with rules, in the case of WonderFi, the OSC, it operates under the OSC, at some point, the bank could say, okay, clients, you know, the Canadian banking system has 5 behemoths, and it's a very structured market. But there's huge interest in Bitcoin, and the only way they're going to be able to provide it is to find some exchange that can actually do it within the banking system. And my assumption, my investment thesis, is it's going to be WonderFi, and that's why I own that stock. But it's no different than what's going on in the US or in other countries. This is the era, the Trump era, of compliance and regulatory ground rules and frameworks for finally getting this whole crypto thing worked out. The US and North America generally should lead in crypto, and because of what we've done, the regulatory or instability of it, it's mostly moved off to other jurisdictions where the research is done. It's got to come back domestic.
And Kevin, the future of social media continues to dominate headlines. How do you see certain platforms affecting global markets, especially with the rise of DeepSeek dominating the AI space right now?
Yeah. Well, obviously, if people thought previously that we weren't in, the light word would be competition. I think the reality is an economic war with China. It's also going to involve AI. The country with the most advanced AI is going to win militarily as well, and I think Trump's figured that one out. We have to really start focusing on our ability to maintain a lead position versus China. Now, there's a lot of speculation in the case of DeepSeek. How many NVIDIA chips did they rip off? Between 50 and 60,000 is the rumor. Did they buy them in the black market? Who knows? Did they rip off Microsoft code? IP law in China, as you know, doesn't exist. And so they don't have a problem doing this in other sectors, and they're going to do it again in AI. And so all the more to put more pressure on China, because AI is all about IP, intellectual property. Who develops these engines? How much do they spend? I'm calling BS on the idea that this platform DeepSeek was made for $6 million. I think that's complete. That's just not true. And I think it's a state-sponsored platform that has now been leaked out into the American market, so that if you download it, it scrapes your email and sends it right back to the same issue that we had with TikTok. We have laws for that. My guess is this platform will also fall under that same order from Congress and maybe shut down. You just don't know. I think it depends what lawmakers decide to do when they look at it more closely. But you install any of this stuff on your phone, you're open for your data being scraped going back to China. And I think that's going to become part of the whole narrative and the competition and how we deal with social media. It's a really big problem. And so we know what's going to happen with TikTok. I mean, either it's going to be acquired by an American syndicate, hopefully the McCord-O'Leary syndicate, or it's going dark. Now, that could happen for many of these other platforms, and we'll have to wait and see what occurs. But, the clock is ticking on TikTok. It's down to just over 60 days now.
But, I do want to get your take, Kevin, as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, especially as an investor. Where do you see the future of business and investment going with platforms like these?
Well, I'm very encouraged by the productivity that AI is providing. In my own companies, which stretch across all 11 sectors of the economy, we have embedded in various services AI. And it's whether it's issuing watch insurance, or whether it's something to do with providing customer service, or whether we're analyzing how much wine we should grow in different varietals for O'Leary Fine Wines, we're using AI. We have to determine, using these algorithms, how to forecast demand so we reduce our cost of capital. And we're doing it across pretty well every business sector. And we're just in the first inning. So I'm extremely positive about the potential. And one of the reasons you see such buoyancy in the market, although of course there's volatility, but most companies, whether they be large or small, are using AI because it's just a good tool to reduce cost.
Yep. Well, there's going to be a lot that we're going to be following here on the show. Definitely a lot to look out for on this front. Thank you so much for joining us, Kevin O'Leary, global investor and venture capitalist.
Take care. Bye-bye.